Today I wanted to talk about Candyman. Candyman. I first saw this like many years ago. I hadn't seen it in such a long time, but I found the DVD pretty cheap. All the movies, Halloween sales, you'll find them anywhere. I found this pretty cheap, and I decided I want to check this out again because I do remember liking it quite a bit. Revisiting it was great. I was really blown away. It's actually a really great horror movie. It is directed by Bernard Rose, co-written by him and Clive Barker, based on Clive Barker's short story, The Forbidden. And what I really love about this movie is that it does kind of go to the root of horror and the root of scary storytelling, which is urban legends. And I think it does that and explores that in a really clever way. Not like the movie Urban Legend, where it's like, oh, let's base these murders off urban legends. No, nothing that tacky or anything like that. But, I mean, first of all, what it'll remind you of what with Candyman, kind of the urban legend of it is that, you stand in the mirror in the dark, say Candyman 5 times, he appears, and shit goes down. What it'll instantly remind you of is Bloody Mary. We've all played that game, I think, when we were kids, maybe a friend of a friend tells you about it, and like, oh yeah, I know it happened to this one kid down the street. They said Bloody Mary in the mirror. They turned the lights on. They had a black eye or a runny, bloody nose, not a runny nose. Not so scary. Unless like Contagion. Never mind. But yeah, how it's always kind of like an urban legend. With this movie, and the story of this movie, and the main character, Helen, played by Virginia Madsen, who's great in the movie. She's a graduate student. She's, I guess, kind of like shacked up with one of the professors. She explores and tries to find out, well, these things, they have an origin somewhere. These stories come from somewhere, and she investigates this Candyman story. So that's essentially what sets it up, and it's her investigation, and as she gets deeper and deeper into it, it becomes quite apparent that there's something real going on here. There's some real supernatural shit going on with this Candyman figure who's haunting this community, and how there is a history behind him and a reason behind it, and how some will even exploit that legend and the fear that it brings to the people of the community. For their own benefit, but there is a root to that, so it does have a certain root of a real evil, which I really liked. And Tony Todd, absolutely fantastic as Candyman, the character. He's so incredibly creepy in this role. Perfect, one of his best roles. I mean, he definitely has his place in horror. I mean, Night of the Living Dead remake, Final Destination, even playing the coroner in that, one of the key characters. But this is probably one of his best roles. And what I like about it, the movie, in not too obvious a way, I mean, it does bring kind of an urban angle to it, where it's not like overly obvious. It's not like overly exploitive of that either, like it's not like let's have this horror character, but hey, let's make him black and let's make it appeal to black audiences. It's not like that. It's not cheap like that, which is what I like about the movie. It's not like Candyman shows up wearing sunglasses like, yo, I'm Candyman, motherfucker, I'm gonna cut you up. No, it's not cheesy like that at all, which I appreciate, because it could have gone down a path like that. They could have had some kind of temptation to, let's make this kind of a throwback to, grindhouse pictures, exploitation pictures, and let's make, our ghetto evil villain, which oddly enough they kind of ended up doing with Leprechaun of all things. But that's a story for another day. But anyway, I think it's a genuinely creepy movie, and the mystery as it unfolds, and how we realize along with the character Helen of the reality of the situation is so very well done. Like Virginia Madsen, she is fucking incredible in this movie. Sincerely, like her performance is so great. I read like IMDb trivia or whatever. she stated that in some scenes she was hypnotized, which you can kind of sort of see, really, because there is like that loss on reality, and they do it really well. This character losing their grip on reality, not knowing quite what is real. They do it in a very frightening way, in a way that I don't think is cheaply done or anything like that. Because, well, if you saw my review of The Devil's Rejects, I was like, hey, Lords of Salem, what's that all about? I did end up watching it, and that was kind of a movie where the character was losing their grasp on reality. I didn't dig that movie too much. Well, this isn't my review of Lords of Salem or anything like that, but it was made very apparent to me that there is a very specific way that you have to do a type of story where the character is losing their grip on reality. If not like a specific way, then at least a way where there has to be a method to the madness. You can't just have random shit all over the place. There has to be some kind of method to the madness, which you see in this movie. I don't think they do mind fucks for the sake of mind fucks. I guess is the best way I can put it. There is a genuine kind of threshold of this character's sanity that is tested with the Candyman character. When he appears there, there's that scene where she reaches the breaking point where she's in the asylum, he's floating over here. It's so creepy, and how he's appearing, only she can see him, but he's killing real people. And what it ultimately boils down to is he kidnaps this child, and it's her kind of burden to make things right, to save this child. If she could save this child, then maybe she has some kind of redemption. But all the while, it's the Candyman character almost seducing her in the way that, be my victim. You will be forever. You will be part of this tale. And there is a temptation to that, and there is a very kind of subtle seduction that's going on there, and I think it's very well done with amazing imagery. Like they have all this stuff with the bees coming out of his mouth, and the bees everywhere. Not the bees. It's so like I never would have thought that bees could creep me out so much, but here we go, Candyman. Bees are very frightening. So I mean, it's a very frightening and surreal movie, as only you could expect from the mind of Clive Barker, I guess. I would say it would almost kind of make a good double bill with Hellraiser, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, I was just really impressed watching this movie over again. Definitely one of the great horror movies of the 90s, which some people will say kind of a wasteland of good horror. You got to really dig for good horror. I think this is absolutely one of the best horror movies of the 90s. Absolutely. Just so very well done. Tony Todd, great as the Candyman. Virginia Madsen, absolutely spellbinding. She's so great in this movie. So I was blown away watching this again. So definitely, I mean, if you haven't seen Candyman, got to give it a shot. Got to check this out. Really, really creepy, really well done horror movie. So that'll be my review of Candyman. Thanks very much for watching. A little bit more to come. We're going towards the end here, 31 Days of Horror. Hope you've enjoyed watching, but there are more reviews to come, so stay tuned for more. Till then, thanks for watching. See you later.